I know we're here to talk about After We Collided, but I'm curious to know what the moment was like when you first saw the first After film on screen for the first time.
I mean, it was a lot of mixed emotions. I had already seen it from being on set and from watching in the editing room and being part of the editing process, and then watching it with the friends and family screenings and watching kind of 10 versions of the movie. But then at the premiere, sitting with an audience, I mean, it was almost overwhelming, but in a good way, where I was like, wow, this is really like out to the world. It's not just us watching it anymore. And it just kind of felt like, not I hate the word like a dream come true, but it really felt like this thing now is bigger than me and bigger than what I ever intended it to be, in the best way.
And how awesome is it to do it again and know that the other films are going to be adapted as well and you're producing them? Like, how crazy is that?
I mean, I feel like it still hasn't really clicked in. The second one sort of has, because some of the fans have already seen it because it's out in a couple places, and the feedback has been incredible. And they've been very much like just so happy. There's people that have literally seen it like 7 times already. So to have any sort of dedicated fan base like that, we're just so lucky to have that, especially for being an indie film without this massive studio behind us. It's pretty insane in the best way.
Especially at a time with COVID when not a lot of people can't go to the movies. So the fact that it's going to be on demand for all these people to watch and people are dying for new content, it's kind of like making a good situation out of a not so great situation.
Yes. And we need entertainment to get through that. I mean, there's only so much like political things. And I mean, the world is such like a kind of dark place right now that any kind of entertainment, especially like everyone loves a romance. So I'm really happy that we can provide some kind of escapism and not be forced to go to the theater, because in my personal opinion, just think it's a little, in where I live, at least I wouldn't go to a movie theater. So I'm really happy that people can kind of have like girls' nights in or date nights in on the same day. So as much as the virus obviously has affected a lot of things negatively, I think this is a pretty cool way to release instead of having it theatrical first and then come to video on demand.
Why were Hero and Josephine the perfect fit to play Hardin and Tessa?
Well, for Josephine, I mean, not only physically, because she literally looks like she walked out of the book, but just there's something about her presence that she's so mature, yet very soft, and I wouldn't say naive, because that's just like, she's not naive by any means, but Tessa is. So she has this thing where Josephine as herself is very mature, very intelligent, very poised. And then Tessa, when she turns into Tessa, it's like all of that plus the naivety. And that is the perfect balance, because despite, people's opinions, Tessa is a very sharp, very sassy, very like intelligent girl, but she also is extremely naive and has no idea what the real world is like. So Joe kind of brought that perfect element. And then for Hero with Hardin, literally his energy, it was kind of that movie magic where we had gone through so many auditions and so many tapes, and I felt like I got to a point where I was like, am I ever going to be satisfied, because the right person just hasn't come. And then at the end there were a few really great choices, but it was movie magic, basically, where I was like, I know that he should be Hardin. I don't exactly know why, but I know that he should be.
It was like a feeling. I'd love
that. Yes,
That.
exactly.
So while Tessa and Hardin might not always have the most healthy relationship, what would you say are some positive things that they bring out in one another?
I would say for Hardin, well, Tessa brings out a lot more good in Hardin. Empathy, for one. She makes him feel, if these were real characters, this is kind of what I try to say when people are like, it's an unhealthy relationship. I'm like, yes, that's literally the point of the entire series. But she brings out the literal best in him. She makes him understand forgiveness instead of just something goes wrong and you cut the person out and you pretend like it never happened. He's not as self-loathing with her. I on one hand hate this idea of like changing someone because you love them, because in reality, that's not what women should try to do, is try to make a guy better for them. But with Hardin, with Tessa, he brings out a lot of confidence in her, and he allows her to be, I mean, she went from being extremely controlled by her mother in a basically friendship, family type relationship that she was supposed to kind of keep going until marriage. And she would have had a very simple, normal life, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but she would have never found her passion, and she would have never found herself as a woman in a way that Noah wasn't exactly bringing out in her. Yeah. So I would say they bring out the best in each other, but they also call each other out on the things that they need to fix.